Hello and welcome to the Pet Healer Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Mitzi Vargas, and today we are talking about expectorant herbs. This is this part 2 of the series on upper respiratory herbals and holistic treatments, because obviously we're dealing with that mysterious respiratory disease, and which I think is going to end up being perhaps nothing new, just the usual suspect: mycoplasma, kennel cough, or some of the parainfluenza or influenza viruses just showing up in more numbers and people taking better care of their pets. Or it could be a new strain of influenza. But however, in Chinese medicine, we don't care really about the allergen or pathogen ID that much. We know what the pattern is and we treat for that. So I wanted to talk to you about expectorant herbs. An expectorant is that herb that have the ability to expel the mucus out of the respiratory system, because that really relieves the congestion. The congestion is just the mucus staying there in your sinuses, not allowing the air to be, or the cough. You know, the cough is really just your efforts trying to clear the passages from that thick mucus. And of course, expectorant herbs have been used for millennia in China and in Ayurvedic medicine in India. And so the first one that I want to talk about is Tulsi. Tulsi is also known as Oxymum sanctum, but really holy basil. I know if you heard of holy basil because it's used teas. I've seen them and I drink some teas too, and they claim this has a lot of good effects for the for women. It's as a women tea, but also for respiratory issues. Holy basil is also used for in culinary recipes, and so it is something that can be easily be accessible. And the compounds that have been identified when I looked up in PubMed, it was eugenol and camphene. And camphene is one that has antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory effects. And eugenol, I know that it's been studied as well. And so both of these two can support the immune system and making it a good choice to try to use it for your pets. How can we give the holy basil? We can do the herb added to the food, or we could do the tea. So if you can find Tulsi tea, you can actually add the tea itself, the bag. Just open the bag and give the tea without being the tincture. Or you can make the tea and add it to the food, or you can find the herb a little bit in better quality than the tea and use it. Snake root, Polygala seneca. Snake root or seneca root is also expectorant herb. It has saponins, and these saponins to me sound like soaps, but saponin actually breaks down the mucus, and then that makes it more liquid. That will make easier for you to expel it from the respiratory system. And so when you have a chest congestion or cough or bronchial spasms in people, then all of this is associated with the severe cold or flus. Then the snake root is used in teas or tinctures in people. Can you use it as a tincture or as a tea? Absolutely. You can use it for the pets as well. Licorice root or glycyrrhiza. Glycyrrhiza is well known. Licorice is a harmonizer in most of the herbal preparations that we use here for upper respiratories and for other herbal preparation. We need a harmonizer herb, and licorice is that. It really is great. It improves multiple meridians. It can penetrate the meridians, so it's used so that it can harmonize the formulas. It contains glycyrrhizin, which has mucolytic properties, so it breaks down, it dissolves the mucus, it thins it and it loosens it, and then that way it can really reduce the coughing a lot. The congestion is going to be diminished, and it can soothe the throat. Can we do licorice root and this? You can find licorice chewies, and I've seen a lot of preparations for humans. And as long as it's just licorice, you can definitely add it to your pet. The funny thing is, some of these herbs are in the formulas that we use, like Jade Screenade is some formula that we use here, and we're using in the kennel right now. So Jade Screenade is a great formula by Jingtang that really helps with any outbreak of respiratory disease. I actually recommended it for our technicians and ourselves during COVID, and it really helped tremendously. Yin Xiao is another herbal formula that is very, very common in China, and it is great for the early symptoms of the disease when you first get infected, as a prevention too. Jade Screenade is preventative, but also can treat. And of course, they all have some of these herbs. Clove is a spice as well. So most of these things we eat in little tiny amounts, but when you add it in certain amounts, it actually have beneficial properties. And it does have expectorant properties, and it contains eugenol just like Tulsi. And this eugenol is really interesting. You can find a lot of studies on eugenol, and it has antimicrobial and antiviral properties. It can reduce the phlegm production and soothe the throats. So that's why they added in a lot of the cough drops. Slippery elm is another one. This is a tree that is native here for North America. They use the bark and because it contains mucilage, and it's like a thick gel substance, and that really soothes the respiratory tract. Slippery elm is used in many respiratory tinctures and drops, and it can relieve cough and reduce the throat irritation. It definitely facilitates recovery from the congestion. It helps you expel the mucus. Another one, marshmallow, Althea officinalis. Marshmallow is an herb that really has soothing and expectorant properties. It also has mucilage, just like slippery elm. And it can relieve the cough, reduce the throat, and alleviate the congestion. Can we add marshmallow and slippery elm? Yes. We just have to be careful of how much to add to our pets. Most of these, if you add too much, you're going to see diarrhea or GI upset. But they're not really toxic. So Osha roots is another expert herb that the Native Americans use. It's usually in the Rocky Mountains. It has camphor. And we know that camphor is used on those vapor rub, Vicks vapor rub, and all of these other compounds. They might have camphor and menthol, and those are a little bit strong for some of our pets in topical. But when it's ingested, it's a completely different thing. So most of these other products, they mix the camphor with the menthol, and it's just very irritant to the animals. They don't like it. But if you use herbs, then you can actually do a good job of adding something that will help without hurting. And then sage leaf, because Salvia officinalis, which is sage, is an expectorant herb. We know we clear sage. We do to clear energy. A lot of people do that. They know it for that. But sage is actually antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory. It has some volatile oils, including camphor, and that relieves, camphor relieves congestion and coughs. It actually, I've seen many of those cough remedies that include sage leaf, and it's because they claim that it soothes the sore throats better than anything, and it overall respiratory health, it improves. So it is important that if your pet is taking other medications, that you tell your doctor, your veterinarian, that, okay, I'm going to try to add sage or osha root or slippery elm to their diet, so that they know if there's any kind of contraindication to doing so. But this is an opportunity to try some of these herbs, one or multiple choices here, to add to those that are at high risk or they are battling pneumonia. They say this respiratory illness may last up to 8 weeks. So, I mean, we want to make sure that they go the course without becoming pneumonia. I hope you learned something today. And if you did, stay tuned for part 3 of our respiratory series. And until then, stay well.